Everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder, the first 3 books of the Bible is now available: Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. So I was going to skip Leviticus and Numbers and go straight to Deuteronomy, but definitely if you watched them by now, you understand why, I didn't skip them. This is going to be a long series, probably take 2, maybe 3 years to finish it. But, let's get into this whole, Syrian thing. They, again, are basically starting the whole thing up again. And basically, time is running out for Assad to basically, give in, to give up, to basically go ahead and allow the Rothschilds to take over the country and install a central bank and basically enslave the people like they done in the other countries. There's a lot of people concerned about what's going on over there because of the involvement with Russia. And a lot of people, when you first start looking at Russia's involvement with this whole thing, and you just go back and just look at the history with Putin and everything that's been going on. He has been threatening for a long time to expose 9/11 and what happened with that. To expose the Rothschilds, he basically kicked them out of the country and all this and that, and exposed the central bank. And he was supposed to be starting this whole, new bank that's basically going to, help everybody out as far as them being enslaved to the Rothschilds. But, the more I dig into it, the more I look at the whole thing, I believe, Putin's involved with the whole thing. He's a part of the whole thing. And, when you see stuff like this and you see him meeting with the Jews, that tells you right there. I believe that he is the spy. And, Russia always talking about spies. There's always a big thing with spies when it comes to Russia. And that's what they do. That's what they're known for. They are some of the best spies, them and British. But Russia, that's what they do. They get in bed with these countries that are really enemies to the whole New World Order, and they act like they're their friends. But then, they basically feed intel, which is why Assad is, you don't see him and Putin super close. They're supposed to be friends, but Assad's smart enough to understand probably what's going on, but he really not in a position to just toss Putin away, especially when, Russia comes in and shows aid. But I think it's, just a setup. And them trying to give him time to basically do what he need to do before they eventually take over, and it looks like they will. But a lot of this stuff is just obvious. You got to just look at and pay attention when you start reading the reports on the whole thing. Okay, so you have America basically bombing this so-called chemicals weapons plant where they're supposed to be making chemical weapons. You have chemical weapons inspectors come in there, people who test for this stuff to see was it chemical weapons there, and they supposedly wasn't allowed in by Russian and Syrian forces. So, a lot of people say, okay, they won't allow them in. You have Britain talking about it. They won't allow these inspectors in. The whole thing is, what does the outside world need to worry about if that plant that they blew up, a while ago has chemical weapons? The whole point of America blew up the plant in the first place. They had to blow it up on intel, on proof that it obviously was producing chemical weapons. So you have Russia and Syria come out and say, well, there's no chemical weapons going on here. We think the whole thing is a setup, and that the chemical attack that people was talking about was launched by, these so-called, well, by America, you might as well say, but these forces, these militia that's running around in Syria, supposedly. And they're the ones who've been launching these chemical attacks and blaming it on Assad. And as I said before about Assad, the dude running for his life. Come on. Everybody is looking at Syria. All eyes is on Syria. One, why would you have a chemicals munition plant, up and running at any time where it can be discovered? That's one thing. Two, you got better things to do to be attacking your people or be worried about chemical weapons for what? For who? Who are you going to release chemical weapons on? And it's the narrative that they put out. They want to put it in the minds of the American people that this place is dangerous to basically, get people to go along with the whole bombardment of Syria. So to me, you got to look at, everything. If Putin was who he says he is, as far as being, a person that's about freedom or getting the truth out as far as America, it's very easy for him to do so. You have RT. And if you watch TV, you probably seen RT is a news station. And Russia basically broadcasts a lot of so-called truth on there and things that's supposed to be, kept away from the American people. But one of the things is, common sense to tell you. The simple fact that we can actually watch this TV station in America should tell you something. The reason why they let us see it is to get people to have that understanding that Russia is against America. And this is, one of the things they're willing to do, as far as you know, put out a whole news station speaking against America, what have you. And it's a patriotic thing. Try to get people to be patriotic and say, you know, it's America against the world. But the simple fact that it's allowed, it tells you that it's bogus. We wouldn't be seeing it. They only let us see what they want us to see. So that should tell you something right there. You know, it's very easy for him to just come out and just tell the truth and just say it, you know, put it out there for the American people to know. And if you really was against America or really was trying to, you know, put out any truth or, you know, any type of stability for the people, then you would just come out and say it. America is this is what's going on. I mean, the stuff I tell you, he would just say it. And that's the difference. You know, these other countries, they're basically frozen. They can't really get internet access because they'll get hacked and shut down. So they can't really broadcast anything. You have these news stations that is controlled, even with Al Jazeera and these other so-called stations that's supposed to be putting out truth as far as for the Middle East or Russia, what have you, is controlled. The simple fact that we see it should tell you they're not going to let their enemies broadcast to us to put out any real truth. That's what Muammar Gaddafi did. That's why he got killed. Gaddafi said, hey, I'll invite the news people over here so y'all can see for yourself it's not me. I'm not killing my people. And they used that to their advantage and set up staged the whole attack. They caught it on camera and said, see, he is killing people while we're here. You know, so this is the type of stuff they do. They won't allow people to see real truth. So this is how you know. It's one of the things that you got to really look at as far as if anybody is believing that Putin is somehow a good guy. No, he's involved with all this bullshit. He's in bed with them. And that's just the way it is. So it's just easy to see. Even though all the stuff we say about the Rothschilds and the banking, it's bullshit. It's bogus. When you understand the history of these people, I mean, they white. Let's just say it. White people. Plain and simple. They're not going against each other at this point in time. They are together. And the whole thing is a setup. Anybody who Putin couples himself with ends up going down. You see, he was a friend, supposedly, to Gaddafi. Gaddafi went down. Same thing with Assad. Assad's getting ready to go down. And supposedly, and it's one of the reasons how you know, remember the whole rumor came out a while ago that Putin used to serve as a spy, and he was serve Saddam Hussein. The picture here, I don't think it's Putin at all, to tell you the truth. But the simple fact that people was talking about it, just shows you that it's already out there that this dude that's basically his role. He gets in, befriends people, anti-America this, anti-America that, but really he's in the back pocket of the Rothschilds. I wouldn't be shocked if he's, somehow related. These are the people who you understand they are a part of it. And everything is to deceive the people, plain and simple. Above everything, they must deceive the people. They know how outnumbered they are. See, we too busy worried about stupid shit that we're not paying attention to what these systems and these countries have done, what they're doing to us. They scamming us all. So they all in on it, all these people at the top, all these so-called presidents. As I said, if they got a president, if they have a constitution, these are systems created by Rome. And this shows you who was under that whole umbrella that's, deceiving the people. And that's basically what it's about. And a lot of people look at it as just saying, oh, well, they're doing the best they can to put together a system to control all these people. And a lot of people look at it as that. Well, without the government, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be able to do that. But at the same time, they scamming us. They ripping us off. And we know it's not free. It's not fair, especially if you're black in America. You understand the system is corrupt. So at all costs, they must continue to deceive the people, which is why nobody is coming out against America for real, because they all doing the same shit to their own people. So if you come out and say, well, America's doing this, America's doing that, then you have to tell on yourself. And then you're going to have your people looking at you as far as China or Russia or any of these other countries who might want to come out and speak. It's the same thing with Iran. I mean, they could come out and say it. I have Iranian friends, and they'll tell you how it was there and what's going on and how that system is. I've spoken to quite a few, and they understand what's going on there and why they fled. But all these people is in bed together, plain and simple. It's the same reason why, you had Fidel Castro, beefing with America, but he never really came out and just laid it all on the table and just basically told you the type of shit that we talk about. This is why this stuff will never be seen mainstream. You only find it on YouTube because it's the truth. And nobody's going to come out and say, as far as these leaders, You know, it's all a scam. Social Security cards, the birth certificate, they're ripping the people off, taxes, all that stuff. They raping people. We don't need fossil fuels. We can have freaking solar power. We have natural electricity in the freaking atmosphere. We can tap into that. We don't need to be spending all this money and billions of dollars on this. I mean, they're not going to come out and spit this stuff out. So you have now, and I just seen an infomercial on a flashlight that's run by water. I mean, come on. That should tell you something right there. We know about the cars that's been powered by water. I mean, everything, as I said, is to keep the American people, to keep the population of the public, you know, duped as to what the government is actually doing long enough for these people at the top to put together their whole new world order. So what does this mean for us, for the American people? We just waiting, you know, waiting for Syria to fall, for Assad to fall, for them to, you know, take that place over and see where they go to next. North Korea or Iran or what have you. And to me, you have Putin right there helping the whole situation. And, you know, they're going to eventually fall, and, you know, so on and so forth. So, you know, a lot of people we've been talking about for years about this whole New World Order has already begun. It's very subtle. They know the word is out there. They're not just going to, you know, announce it's a New World Order. This thing is going to be taken over, and it's just going to be as if, you know, everything is normal. But you'll see things steadily change. And, you know, they're talking about in Syria now, trying to stabilize the country to have the people come back, all the refugees come back to Syria. And there probably was some talks about that, you know, behind the scenes, Assad basically giving up and getting these people back in, because it doesn't matter. It's just empty land if you don't have no people. You got to have people there to run that whole thing. So you have a lot of people who don't want to come back to Syria, that's refugees, because Assad is in power, because they're scared. Not so much they don't have confidence in him. They're just scared that as long as he is in power, America won't stop. They're going to keep trying to attack, and the place won't be safe. So a lot of people, you know, choose to flee. And you have a lot of people who just choose to stay because, you know, stay home. But for the most part, they already been in talks, talking about, you know, it's probably over $400 billion worth of damage to Syria already. It's going to take a lot of years of cleanup and a lot of money that I promise you the American people will pay for. And the corporations and companies that's basically running the whole thing is going to use their companies to go in there and fix the place up at our expense. So this is what they do. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to have an economy again backed by a Rothschild central bank, and the people are going to be debt slaves just like we are here in America. And, you know, they'll have so-called democracy and little freedoms and stuff like that that's going to make them happy like us, and they're not going to understand that, you know, what has happened. They're going to be happy. And for some people, that's enough until the real takeaways of freedom start to show up. People are not really going to understand how bad it is to have these people in power. And it's the same thing here in America. We don't really understand how bad it is to have these people in power until everything is taken away from us, and it's slowly happening already. So we already see what they're doing and how much they're taking away as far as our liberties, and, you know, how they're in all these different facets of our life. And it's just going to get worse, you know. And eventually, this is what is going to happen in Syria. And it's either going to be Assad caving in and giving up, or them, you know, probably blowing his brains out in front of a camera, so everybody can see that he's gone and they can come back, which I think that's what's going to happen. And they're going to get those people back in and run that system. So as far as after that, you know, people worried about us going to war or what have you like that, you know, this is what, you know, we got to look forward to if or when Assad's taken down, if that's sooner or later. Because I'm going to tell you now, Iran ain't going down without a fight. And it's not simple. It's not easy for you to go, you know, like Syria and put spies or what have you. You see what they do. You've probably seen reports plenty of times of people, tourists, being locked up in Iran for coming in there. They don't play. So it's not going to be easy for them to do what they're doing to Syria to Iran. It's going to have to be a war. Now, they already used Saddam as a guinea pig to test how that war would go. And Saddam and them, you know, Iraq was basically slaughtered by Iran when they had that whole conflict. It's impossible. It's a place we do not want to go for war, and ain't no troops, American troops, trying to go there because they understand that, you know, it's suicide. You know, so the weapons, you know, the capability we have, it's something that they can use, of course, but then they would have to justify for what reason. Because you have Iran, who for years, sanctions, not being able to participate in so many different things, and to try to convince people that they somehow is a threat to America is going to be tough for them to do because they stay out of everything. They ain't stupid. So it's like, you have to prove that I'm here, that I'm doing this. And they're trying to speak Iran into the whole thing by keep mentioning, if you pay attention to the media, if you're reading about all this stuff like I am, if you're paying attention, they always keep mentioning Iran in the whole conversation with Putin and Syria right now. So when Syria falls, that's probably where they're going to turn their attention to. Of course they will. But it's bullshit, as we know. You know, it's all bogus. It's all part of this whole New World Order situation that, you know, there's nothing we can do about it, you know, because the people who can do something about it, as I always say, they won't. They won't intervene. They won't say nothing. The Senate is stupid. And while you have a lot of people out there, a lot of white folks out there protesting and have signs and putting up stuff and, you know, in support of Syria and everything that's going on, a lot of people feel sad about the whole situation. They're not really doing anything to change it. It's the same thing that I say about us black folks. We march and we protest. It's not going to do nothing. You know, we need legislation. We need something to be done. The system has to get changed. And it's the same thing with white folks marching about Syria and everything like that. It's not going to do nothing. Plain and simple. It's not going to change the direction these people are going in. And the fact that, you know, for hundreds of years they've been going towards, you know, this direction. It's part of their agenda. They're not just going to stop it. The simple fact that you have the whole thing, Isaiah 17:1, as I talked about in the Bible, about the city of Damascus being destroyed. The fact that it's in the Bible tells you it's part of their agenda, and that's what they planning on doing. So Syria, I mean, I give a side credit. They put up a pretty good goddamn fight. Seriously, because I'm shocked they lasted this long. I thought Assad would have been going with Obama, but they couldn't get the job done for whatever reason. See, they ain't telling us how these little skirmishes is going. We don't understand how Assad has been able to stay in power and avoid them and stay out of the whole situation that Gaddafi found himself in. I don't understand. Like, so he must got some forces and some powerful people behind him as far as the military, what have you, because I'm shocked they didn't take him out by now. Syria is not that big. But trust me, the people in Iran is not going to flee like the people in Syria. I highly doubt that. I believe they will put up a fight. It would be the same as going into Russia and trying to defeat them. You have to fight the entire country. And the people in Syria are not armed. They fled. And we see what happened. They're refugees now. I don't see that happening with Iran. Those people dug in. You see how they fought. I mean, just pay attention to the Iraq-Iran war and pay attention to how they fought and how they was dug in. I mean, first to even get anywhere towards where the civilizations is at, where the people was at, you got to fly through all these mountainous regions of just nothing. But dug in is torrents and guns and people and bases and all kinds of shit that you got to pass first in order to hit anything. So even if we do send a drone or airstrike, before it can reach where it needs to reach, they'll probably been took it out before it got there. So it would have to be like almost like you would have to almost nuke them, to me, to really take them out of power. And you know, I don't think they're going to do something like that because they won't be able to justify it. But that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one for them to basically try to do what they did with Gaddafi. And same thing they're doing with Assad to Iran, because they don't have, it's going to be tough for them to get people in there on the ground as spies, whatever, and to pay people off, these so-called insurgents and these militia, what have you, these mercenaries, you might as well say, to go in there and start setting stuff up as far as chemical weapon attacks and all these bogus stuff, and blame it on Assad or blame it on Iran. It's going to be tough. So we'll see. But once Syria falls, we know what's next. So there's a lot of people who falling for this whole thing. United States don't have any enemies as far as governments, and that's just a fact. The enemies they have is people, plain and simple. It's one of the reasons why, you know, them doing what they're doing and running around and being in everybody's business around the world, it makes it unsafe for us as Americans to travel. You know, this is why a lot of tourists get kidnapped and killed when they go certain places. As I said, when I was in Egypt, they said, hey, don't tell nobody you're an American. And I heard that from a lot of people. And even when I was going into some of the sites, the tour guides was, you know, are you American? They kept asking, you know, no Americans here. And they kept saying, oh, I was like, no, I'm from Sweden. You know, even though I clearly sound like I'm from America. But it's real. So they make it tough. They make it tough for us to really go certain places. And we don't, you know, we don't hit these places up anyway because we ain't trying to go to none of that. But it's one of those things where the people understand what's taking place and what's going on, which is why a lot of those people stayed in or staying in Syria. Because Assad, when you pay attention to the economy and how good everything is going there, it's like, you know, come on, why this dude has the life, everything is good. It's the same thing with Gaddafi. The people were treated fairly and well. He was trying to share the wealth with the people. So, you know, them showing us videos of these paid off mercenaries going and shooting up shit and everything like that, as if they are against the regime or against the administration. It's all a setup. You know, it's a setup. And they basically doing the same thing here with the whole Trump thing, you know. So it's not as many, I don't think, it's not as many people who are being critical enough against Trump for the right reasons. Everybody come out and talk about Twitter and a whole bunch of stupid stuff, but nobody's talking about the real issues, of course, because, you know, we're not going to ever hear about it. And it's really going to keep going until it's done. And it's just, we're going to keep talking about it. To me, what I think happened, they gave him a time frame. Okay, you have until this date to figure this shit out. And if not, then we coming back in here. And that's basically what it is. It has to be something, to me, that they don't want to either destroy over there, or I don't think it's the that he has a really major military and it's just hard for us to attack, which that could be it, because we don't have, you know, a bunch of boots on the ground where we can go in and just take over. Now, if they would have got because Obama basically failed, when you understand, if they would have got the backing that they thought they was going to get as far as trying to get the Americans on board with going into Syria, that was Obama's job, then it would have been over, because we would have had boots on the ground. We would have been able to go in there and just take it out. But, you know, Obama couldn't get that job done, and now Trump's trying to pick up where he left off and try to get boots on the ground. But people are smarter now, and people are waking up and seeing that this whole thing is bullshit. And, you know, when you got dead babies and people and refugees fucking up economies everywhere, it's tough to justify it, and especially when you can't give us any proof of success, you know, plain and simple. So we look at Iraq, it's no better. It's worse off than when Saddam was in power. Same thing with Libya. So give us some kind of numbers or data or proof showing that America going into these countries and, you know, destroying them is somehow stabilizing the economy and helping the people out. They can't do that, you know, and they already justifying the fact that there's casualties. So when we see these dead, blowing up babies and houses and buildings fall down and kill entire families, it's war. It's war. You know, they try to justify it. This is why I say, you know, a lot of these white people in power, they don't care about shit, plain and simple. And a lot of people turn their face and they turn their nose to, you know, kids being killed. This is what they have always done. You know, when you see this type of stuff going on TV, and so you see all the pictures and videos and stuff that they can send out, that they get to send out from Syria. I mean, come on. That should have been enough for rational grown folks to come together and say, we got to stop this. It's babies being squished to death in buildings, but they don't care about that shit, plain and simple. Anytime when you see anybody with a hint of melanin in them, you know, fuck them. You know, this is how they look at it. You're not going to see that in France. You're not going to see them come in France with some kind of full-scale attack or something like that. You won't see it in Belgium. You won't see it in all these other countries that's Serbia, what have you, that's predominantly, you know, white. And we see this in the Middle East with the dark-skinned people who, you know, the mix that they created when the Aryans came in and mixed in with these people to give us these Arabs. And they just basically going in and take it and, you know, cleaning up, you might as well say. And as I said, the whole thing with the Saudi family and on the whole thing, which is why they got kings and they have never been touched. Their job right now is to take Yemen. And this, another thing they're not reporting on and talking about enough is how Yemen is fighting back. And it's a big deal right now. It's a lot of stuff going on that's not put out there on the news that involves us. But we don't have no enemies. We don't have no freaking countries or governments trying to come after America. We have bases everywhere. It's American military bases all over the world. They know what they're doing. It's a couple places that they need to take over, and they got to get justification before they use, you know, you or somebody you know, and these white people's kids and families and husbands and wives or what have you to go die for their agenda. And that's basically what it is. It's all bullshit. It's a ruse to get you to go give your life for their agenda. So yeah, I got a couple messages from people talking about this, and it's just, you know, I put out the whole video about ISIS and, you know, the whole thing about the Levant and what that whole thing is about. And again, it's the same thing from way back then when I put that video out talking about them trying to take the Levant. It's just them trying to get the last pieces, plain and simple, to get Syria out the way. Then they're going for, you know, Iran. And then when it's supposed to be this whole world war with America and Russia and China, what have you, what they're going to do is they're going to sacrifice one of these states. It's supposed to be New York. That's going to get nuked. A bunch of people is going to die and be sacrificed so they can have a new world order. Plain and simple. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be this big, you know, rise to this war, World War III, and everybody's going to be on end, and they're going to nuke or bomb one of these states, and the casualties and the amount of people that's going to die they're going to say, oh, well, you know, we have to stop this, and the world needs to come together and heal, and they're going to have the new world order that way. And that's basically what's going to happen, and everybody's going to be in with it, and everybody's going to be duped thinking that it's, you know, that's what happened and it wasn't staged when they wrote about the shit. And this is what they're going to do. So, you know, pay attention. I don't see it happening in this lifetime, to tell you the truth, but it's possible. They definitely trying. It's just, you can't keep getting caught up in stuff, plain and simple. The news, of course, they bought off. They're going to keep lying about everything. And every time this stuff pops up, you know, you already know what they're trying to do. So you don't got to keep, you know, every time something pops up thinking, you know, what is this about? What is this about? It's about the same thing, plain and simple. Them taking Syria, them taking Iran, them, you know, getting a freaking war and, you know, taking over. So this is what all this stuff is leading to. This is what this stuff is all about. And it ain't going nowhere, because the people who can make it stop won't make it stop, plain and simple. And they was very smart and strategic and put themselves in a position where it is what it is. And it's nothing nobody can do unless people wake up and just say, hey, we need to stop this shit. But, you know, the few people that's speaking out, you know, they're about to silence us and shut down, you know, that whole situation, as I talked about before. So eventually it's not going to be no real opposition to what's going on. It's not going to be any real truth coming out. And if it is, you're going to have to pay for it. Plain and simple. You have to pay for it. Internet sales, as I talked about, with the internet neutrality is going to go up. And if you want to see that type of stuff, you got to pay money for it. And they're going to be monitoring who does pay money for it. Trust me. And it is what it is. It's just one of those situations where, you know, it's frustrating when you see it and you understand what's going on. But that's why I tell people, you know, live your life, get successful. At least in this time that you have here, don't be no slave to them. Get your shit together. Get out here. Enjoy this place. It's still a lot of stuff out here that you can enjoy. Keep yourself spiritually correct. And, you know, what's going to happen is going to happen. It's not, you know, your fault that, you know, they doing what they doing. It's just, it is what it is. And as long as we keep educating each other on what's going on and people understand exactly what these people are trying to do, you know, we can slow them down as much as possible. But unless it's just this mass awakening, this shit ain't going to stop. People going to keep doing what they're doing. But yeah, I wanted to put this out real quick. And I usually always put out a video after I put out DVDs to let people understand what's going on. And yeah, it's a lot. That's what I always say. A lot that I'm doing, a lot coming up, a lot that I'm trying to get out. I have this huge clothing line that I'm working on that's getting ready to launch soon. So you'll see about that. And yeah, a lot more videos to come. Got to put more on YouTube. A lot more people keep asking about it. I know, super busy. But yeah, see you guys next video. Thanks to everybody who purchased and support. And as I said, first 3 books are out. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Crazy. Definitely want to check them out. And yeah, see you guys next video.